So what questions do you have right now? It's really important before we go forward that you're honest about your own curiosities and your own concerns. So I want you to download the But What If sheet that is in the supplementary material. And as you do that, I'm going to go through my list of pre-unschooling what ifs. What if I don't know enough to teach my daughters what they need to know? How will they learn math? How will I get any work done if they're at home all day? What if they only want to watch YouTube videos all day? Won't they miss being around other children for chunks of their day? What if we get tired of being around each other so often? What if I'm not patient enough to be their primary teacher? What if they become interested in topics that their dad and I know nothing about? Will unschooling make it harder for them to get into a good college? Will we be able to fund a lifestyle of curiosity-led learning, like camps, traveling, tutoring, etc.? Let's talk a little bit about the myth of missing out. As you saw from my list of questions, one of the primary things for me was about what if I don't have enough or know enough for them to thrive or excel. Very similarly with entrepreneurship, I know for me, it's been about 8 years since I've been fully self-employed. And the first 3 years were very much about convincing, perhaps the first 5 years, to be honest, were about convincing people that whatever it was that I was selling was what they needed. Similarly with unschooling, the first couple of years was about me convincing myself and my children that this process was going to help them become who they needed to be. I was still transitioning, and deschooling, which we'll talk about soon, helped quite a bit with that transition for both my husband and myself, and also for our children. But the myth of missing out has us believing that we need to be able to convince people that what we are doing or what we have is exactly what they need. My recommendation to address that missing out myth is to switch from convince to convey. When I'm conveying to my daughters the importance of self-governance and the importance of self-exploration, I lead by example. They see it showing up in my own life, and then I act as a guide, kind of at the periphery, to help them make space to explore who they are becoming and what they're interested in. Similarly with entrepreneurship, when I switch from trying to convince my market that my particular style of coaching or my particular style of writing is what they needed, when I switch from that to conveying what my interests are, what my sense of urgency was around, and how that connected to their needs, I started getting more clients. I started writing at a much better pace and space, and I felt better, which is a very important part of the process. I felt better about what I was doing. Convince versus convey, both in unschooling and entrepreneurship, is about the big wide world versus your tribe. The point is to find your tribe. It's to find the specific things that are of the deepest interest to you, and then to marry that with the needs of the people that you want to offer that to. Unschooling, it's the same thing, because instead of saying, this is the whole wide world, these are the things that we've been told that they should learn, you niche. What does my child get into? What is my child interested in? How much deeper can I help them to go into that space? It's about a niche mentality. And sometimes that niche builds out into other things, so you create a bigger niche. But I know that for unschooling parents, particularly in the early stages, they have concerns about what their child might be missing out on. And the same thing with entrepreneurs. They have concerns about leaving money on the table because they're not offering this or that. Not everything that you can do and not everything that comes to you is something that you should be turning into something to sell. You have to be able to discern. And discernment is one of the life skills that is developed as you allow your child to unschool, because they get to understand their interest, and they get to understand over time how to marry interest with skill for a specific result. And you have to trust that. You observe it, you refine it as you go, but it's really important to trust that. We are equipped to learn. Innately, we learn. If you watch your toddler, you do not have to tell them how to explore and to learn. They do it very organically. Similar thing in business. You do not have to tell people to buy what you sell. You have to convey the importance and the value of it to the right people so that they will want to buy it. I hope you see that synergy, and I'm going to offer you a couple of other tools to really make that a little bit more clear.